Good morning. My name is Ana Checo Garcia, the bilingual liaison at Developmental Pathways. Today we will be talking about intake and enrollment in this segment. Some of the topics that we will be discussing are who qualifies, documents and tests that you may need, the intake process, and the steps for enrollment onto the waiver. As you can see here, the steps and the enrollment process is can be lengthy. First, you need a disability determination. After you have been deemed to be eligible, then you would be screened for the appropriate program. We would contact benefits to ensure that services have begun and that you have begun all the documentation that you need in order to have benefits in place. You will then have a SIS assessment, or the support intensity scales assessment, the 100.2 assessment, and then finally you get to select the services that you want and the providers for those services. But going back to the disability determination, before you can select a waiver, you have to first be diagnosed as intellectually or developmentally delayed. And that typically occurs in a couple of different ways. In Colorado, developmental disability is defined as a disability that occurs before the individual is 22 years of age. It is caused by an intellectual disability or a related condition such as Down syndrome, a brain injury, autism. It impairs a person's general intellectual functioning, resulting in an IQ of 70 or below, or significantly limits the individual's living skills, resulting in a composite score of 70 or below on adaptive testing, and the individual has a neurological disorder such as autism or epilepsy. Just FYI, children under 5 with a developmental delay also qualify for services. The determination process is done by the intake team, and they would send you the appropriate application as well as the releases of information. After you submit the information back to the intake team with the supporting documentation, it must be completed within 30 days of receiving all the documents. What tests are needed? Well, medical proof of an intellectual disability or neurological condition, plus an IQ test or an adaptive test. If using an IEP, a signature of the evaluator must be on that document. Testing that can be accepted for determination, as indicated: IQ test, cognitive tests such as the preschool and preliminary scales of intelligence, the WPPSI, number 4, the Stanford Binet Intelligence Scales, the Kaufman Assessment, the Woodcock-Johnson Reynolds Intellectual Assessment Scales, 2nd edition. There's some nonverbal testing as well. The Comprehensive Test of Nonverbal Intelligence, 2nd edition. Wechsler nonverbal, adaptive tests such as the Adaptive Behavioral Scales, 3rd edition, Adaptive Behavioral Assessment System, 3rd edition, and Scales of Independent Behavior. When you are going through the intake process, the intake case manager will give you a list of the testing that is acceptable for the needed determination. IQ test requirements are from ages 5 through 17 is one IQ test after the 5th birthday, and an adaptive test within the last 3 years. Remember, if your child has an IEP, they likely have these adaptive tests done every 3 years. After the age of 18, 2 IQ tests completed between the ages of 5 and 17, an IQ test after the age of 18, but within the last 10 years, and adaptive tests within the last 3 years. Testing accepted. This is just a partial list. Once again, your intake case manager can give you a more comprehensive list if you need one. But here is indicated which IQ test, nonverbal IQ test, and adaptive test are acceptable for a determination. And that is what is done for the determinations on the intake team. Once you have finished the determination and you have been deemed eligible, for services, they would then speak to you regarding which waiver would be more appropriate given your age and your needs. Waivers, as has been mentioned before, are part of Medicaid, and they have income guidelines, which Amy has already discussed, but it allows the individual receiving the services to receive additional services, and can also help the individual in services gain more independence. Some of the documents that are needed when enrolling in one of the waivers are verification of their citizenship via birth certificate, social security card, photo ID such as a passport or a state ID, Colorado active Medicaid, social security, a PMIP or a professional medical information page, which indicates what the diagnoses are from a physician or medical personnel, as well as if they have any guardianship paperwork, adoption paperwork, name change paperwork, and or trust information. How do benefits fit into enrollment? Well, as indicated, waivers are part of Medicaid at a higher tier, so the person does need to have active Medicaid or apply for Medicaid in order to be on a waiver. If the person does not have Medicaid, they will be required to apply for Medicaid if it's not currently in place. As mentioned earlier, there also needs to be a disability determination that the person is disabled, and this can come in 2 forms. They must meet the Social Security's disability definition via an application if they don't already have Social Security benefits in place. That application is the Medicaid disability application. If the individual has trusts, all trusts need to be verified via HCPF, and it can take up to 3 to 6 months for them to review the trust that the individual has. So as you can see here from the timelines, this is not a quick turnaround process that will happen in a month. It takes time to coordinate all the services that go into place before any of the enrollment activities can occur. When the person has been deemed eligible and their benefits have been started and or the information has been sent to the county for approval, assessments occur. And these assessments determine the functional eligibility of the individual. They're typically done at home. However, due to COVID, sometimes they can occur via Zoom. And things that are looked at are the activities of daily living, or how the person does with feeding, eating, dressing, mobilization, transfers, going to the bathroom, things of that nature. In addition to the 100.2 assessment, a SIS is completed. Once again, the SIS is the support intensity scale, and it is a scale that determines the level of the support that is needed by the individual. This is something specific to the two adult waivers. It does not occur for any of the children's waivers. So if your loved one is on a children's waiver, they will need to receive a SIS when they are transitioning onto the adult waiver. In the enrollment process, after the determination has been completed, after they have applied for benefits, and they've completed the 100.2 assessment and have completed the SIS assessment, then the fun stuff can begin, which is selecting the services and selecting the providers for said services. In the SLS waiver, the enrollment case manager will work, the intake case manager will work on the determination and loop in benefits, as already has been discussed. Then you will work with an enrollment case manager who will assist you with all the assessments. These take time. Once again, I want to stress that this process does not occur from 1 week to the next. It can take several months to complete because we are bringing in other providers. We're tying in Medicaid or HCPF. We have to tie in the SIS assessment, the support intensity scales assessment, the 100.2 assessment needs to be completed, and all of these take time. However, all that information that is being gathered will help inform you on the services that will be available to you when you actually begin services. And that is the presentation. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them later on today. Have a great day.